Chapter 8. Bardringle reached up and clicked off the vid monitor. Doing so removed the only source of sound that had been filling the front room of this well-appointed abode that he and his Traxian mate Ren Ivel had been given when they emigrated to Galimar. Since they had arrived from Traxus, they had been treated hospitably, but none of that seemed to matter now. The vid monitor had been carrying the reports of not only what had happened to their home planet, but also of the announcements that came as a result of the emergency meetings of the Grand Council of Galimar. According to the reports, the Grand Council had just gone into detail about what had happened, and more significantly, what the cause of it all was. "I can't believe it," said one of those gathered. The room was filled with several Traxians, and, now that Bardringle was looking, was only attended by one Galimarian, Galimar. Galimar had been assigned to work as an attaché to the visitors, and according to the Grand Council, it was his job to make sure the visiting Traxians were well cared for. Those gathered looked over at the one making the outburst and couldn't find any words to say in rebuttal. In reality, rebuttal wasn't necessary. Truth be said, all around the planet would say that this truly was an unbelievable situation. Not only unbelievable because of the utter devastation that had happened to the home planet of the people gathered in this room, not only because they just heard that Galimarian technology was used to cause this devastation of the Traxian planet, but also because those gathered in this room were the clear majority of all that was left of the Traxian race. In a very real sense, they were an endangered species.
"I wish there was something to say that could make this better, but,"
said Galimar. "There's nothing you can say," replied Ren Ivel without looking at him. "There's nothing that will make this better." To say that Galimar felt terrible was an understatement. The entire planet felt incredible loss over hearing that not only was the first planet where they had found intelligent life now reduced to a devastated rubble, but Galimarian technology had a hand in this? What made it even worse for those gathered in this room was that their loss was amplified by the knowledge that all whom they had known, all that they ever knew, it was all gone. Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, sons, daughters, grandparents, all gone. Even the animals. Ren Ivel thought about some of the places where she had played as a child, or even the food dispensaries where she and her brothers often enjoyed eating. She thought about her first kiss, the way she felt as she walked along the beach the first time. She thought about the beautiful park where she and Bardringle had been united in marriage, and the gathering of family that occurred shortly after. Every last bit of it eradicated completely from existence. Something else was brewing in the minds of Bardringle and Ren Ivel, though. This morning there was a short discussion between them that, at the time, didn't really amount to much. As if it had been sitting on the back burner of a cooking unit, though, it had time to simmer into a full boil, and now that it had been revealed that Galimarian technology was involved, it broke through into a fully formed thought that needed to be discussed. But not while Galimar was present. Knowing what his answer would be ahead of time, Bardringle asked Galimar,
"Can I get you anything to drink?"
Some in the room wondered momentarily why Galimar had been singled out as to if he wanted a beverage. True to what Bardringle had expected, Galimar responded,
"I'm sorry, Bardringle. My wife called me a few minutes ago and told me I was needed at home. Apparently, my children are pretty upset over the news, and they need their father and mother together to help them through this."
Nodding his head, Bardringle said,
"I understand.
He then stood, followed by Galimar. Before he made a move towards the door, Galimar turned to the group and said,
"May I say that I am so sorry for what has happened? I offer my deepest sympathies and hope you can somehow find peace in your lives. If there is anything that I can do to help you heal through this, please do not hesitate to let me know."
The group couldn't muster their abilities to look at Galimar in the eyes. Their gazes were all transfixed on whatever small patch of flora that happened to be in front of them. Galimar could easily see the pain that was freely floating around in the room, and hated the way he felt. He felt so impotent, unable to assuage the despair so concentrated in this room. He looked over to his host, and with a look of impotency said,
"Well, I'll be on my way. I'll call you tomorrow, okay?"
Walking towards the door, Bardringle said,
"Sounds good, my friend. Give my best to your mate and the children."
Gratified that Bardringle was thinking of his children at a time like this, Galimar took personal solace in the parting greeting.
"I will. Thank you for your hospitality." "Any time,"
came the short reply from Bardringle. As he watched Galimar emerge from his residence and eventually close the door behind him, Bardringle's face took on a decidedly harder edge. He turned around to see that, unlike a few seconds ago, all eyes were fixed on him, including those of his mate.
"We have much to discuss."
"What's there to discuss?" came a reply from the room. "We are basically the entire remainder of Traxian people anywhere in the universe. There may be some that are currently in transit, but essentially, we're it."
"That has a lot to do with what we need to discuss. But there's more,"
replied Bardringle. "Like?" asked someone sitting next to the last person that had talked. "Like how we need to plan out a few necessary things," interjected Renival.
"Exactly,"
added Bardringle.
"Things such as how it is up to us to procreate effectively if we are to ensure the survival of our species. Things such as—"
Bardringle paused for a moment so as to choose the right words. The ones floating around in his head were rather unpalatable. "Things such as," prompted the same Traxian woman who had been speaking earlier. Bardringle looked up at the woman and said point bluntly,
"Revenge."
"Revenge? Why?" Renival responded quickly. "Did you catch how this happened?" One of the men assembled responded, "They said it was Galimarian technology that did this." "Not exactly," replied another. "They said that it was Galimarian technology that was used. We can't know for sure how it was used." "No, but we can be sure they knew this was going to happen." "Oh, how is that?" "Come on," replied Renival incredulously. "They're brilliant. They knew the likelihood of something like this happening."
"There's more than that, though,"
added Bardringle.
"Did you catch what they said the resulting atmosphere was?"
"Wasn't it nothing but nitrogen?" answered one woman in the group.
"Exactly."
"So, what difference does that make?" asked the same woman. "As opposed to us, what atmosphere do the Galimarians need to survive?" responded Renival. What appeared to be a light of sudden understanding flashed across the faces of those looking on.
"Exactly. Nitrogen,"
said Bardringle, answering the question posed by his mate. After a few moments, another in the group spoke up and said, "But that doesn't explain why they would do it. Why would they destroy our planet?" One of the gathered men in the group, near the back, answered, "That's easy. We're the only other ones they've found that are intelligent. For untold millennia, They were the only race. They've always felt superior in the knowledge that they would never be challenged in their sovereignty. You heard it yourself. They call themselves enlightened, don't they? Yeah, they think they're so much better. I don't know, responded another from the group. They've always been very nice to me. Will you start thinking for once? Replied Renival in a clearly irritated tone. What did the Grand Council just say? They said, and I quote, "We have passed amendments to testimonial law such that Galimar will no longer share its technology with civilizations that are less evolved than Galimar. And if a civilization that we encounter might be a candidate for the sharing of our resources, including technology, it will only be done if approved by a 3/4 majority of the Grand Council."
Exactly,
exclaimed Bardringle.
Clearly, they feel that Traxxas wasn't nearly as great as they are, and so they can't have any civilizations that might threaten their stranglehold on being the top of the heap. I'll tell you something else. Remember that other civilization that they discovered a year ago? I think its name was Britaria? I can guarantee you that if they don't watch themselves, they're next.
With that, there was a lull in the conversation while all in the room considered what this meant for each one gathered. Eventually, there was a question that popped into the mind of Renival. One thing, though, is how can we get to the heart of this planet and exact our revenge?
I think you just answered your own question, my mate,
answered Bardringle. I did?
Yes. Heart,
answered Bardringle. Renival smiled. Perfect. What? What's perfect? Asked a member of the Traxian refugees gathered. The heart of Galimar, answered Renival. The what?
The heart of Galimar,
added Bardringle. Then turning to the rest of the group, he said, I know several of you just arrived on Galimar, so you might not know much about things around here. Have you ever noticed that all Galimarian adults wear those amulets? Several nodded.
Those amulets are made by a device in the central part of the administrative center of the planet called the Heart of Galimar, continued Bardringle. Its origin is shaded in mystery, but all I know is that those amulets make it possible for them to not only be so intelligent, but I understand that there is some kind of intelligence in them that makes them communicate better, or something like that. One thing I know for sure is that if they didn't have those amulets, they'd be just as unevolved,
Bardringle's eyes rolled,
as we puny Traxians are.
So, what are you proposing? Asked one of the men in the group.
I propose that we get closer to where the Heart of Galimar is located. We'll use our new status as endangered to pull on their heartstrings to let us in. We'll learn what we can about it and how it makes those amulets. We'll learn how it allows Galimarians to communicate. Then, as soon as we can,
Bardringle paused while looking around the room,
we'll destroy it.
Hey, fellow Galimarians, this is Dan Adrian, and I just wanted to say thank you for listening to my book. If you can, please click like down below because it really helps me bring these videos to you and lets me know what you like. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe and click on the bell so that you'll get notified when I release more chapters. If you have any questions about this or any other of my books, or if you want to know more about what it takes to write a novel like this one, please make sure you leave your question in the comments below. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.